were the kulaks considered enemies of the state. Have you ever wondered how a group of peasants became labeled as enemies of the state? The kulaks, a term used in early Soviet Russia, were indeed seen as such by the government during the Russian Revolution and beyond. Originally, the word kulak referred to relatively prosperous peasants who owned land, livestock, or employed laborers. However, as the Bolsheviks gained control, the definition expanded. It began to include any peasant who had slightly more property than their neighbors, regardless of their actual wealth. The Soviet authorities, influenced by Marxist-Leninist ideology, viewed kulaks as a class enemy. They believed that kulaks represented capitalist tendencies within the peasantry and were obstacles to the collectivization of agriculture. The government accused them of resisting communist policies, hoarding grain, and undermining the revolution. These claims were often exaggerated, serving as a pretext for repression. In late 1929, Joseph Stalin announced the liquidation of the kulaks as a class. This marked the beginning of a brutal campaign known as Dekulakization. The campaign led to mass arrests, executions, and deportations. Kulaks were divided into categories. Some faced execution or imprisonment, while others were sent to remote regions like Siberia or Kazakhstan. Many were forced into labor colonies, and their property was confiscated. Families of kulaks lost basic rights, including voting and access to education. The definition of a kulak was often vague, allowing local officials to misuse the label. This ambiguity meant that anyone with even a bit more property could be targeted. Personal disputes sometimes fueled accusations, leading to arbitrary persecution and widespread suffering. The impact of this campaign on rural society was severe. Agricultural production was disrupted, leading to famine and fear among the peasant population. The term kulak became a political weapon used to target anyone seen as a threat to Soviet authority. From a European history perspective, the treatment of the kulaks illustrates how the Soviet state used class-based rhetoric to justify mass repression. The campaign against the kulaks is often cited as an example of the extreme measures taken to eliminate perceived internal enemies during the early years of the Soviet Union. Overall, the kulaks were officially and systematically treated as enemies of the state. Their persecution served both ideological and practical goals in the Soviet Union's transformation of rural life. The story of the kulaks is a key example of how political ideology and state power intersected in early Soviet history.